The U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer USS Russell sailed through the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea on Wednesday, challenging China's unlawful demands that foreign military vessels ask for permission before sailing through the area, the Navy said. The Spratly Islands are contested territories in the South China Sea. China, which claims almost all of the 1.3 million square-mile waterway, has built up its military presence in this area, constructing fortified outposts on artificial reefs. The Spratlys are also claimed by Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines, some of which put restrictions on the operations of foreign military vessels, as China does. The U.S. Navy characterizes unlawful and sweeping maritime claims in the South China Sea as a serious threat to freedom of the sea. The latest freedom of navigation operation upheld the rights, freedoms and lawful uses of the sea recognized in international law by challenging unlawful restrictions on innocent passage imposed by China, Vietnam and Taiwan, the Navy's 7th Fleet said in a statement. China, Vietnam, and Taiwan require either permission or advance notification before a foreign military vessel engages in innocent passage through the territorial sea, the Navy said. By engaging in innocent passage without giving prior notification to or asking permission from any of the claimants, the United States challenged these unlawful restrictions. The operation on Wednesday followed a similar one conducted less than 2 weeks ago by the destroyer USS John McCain. The warship carried out a freedom of navigation operation in the Paracel Islands, contested territory where China also has a growing military presence. The Chinese Defense Ministry expressed frustration with the operation and said naval and air assets were deployed to drive away the U.S. destroyer. China considers such operations to be violations of sovereignty. As it has before, the Navy said in its latest statement that the United States will fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows. Freedom of navigation operations have become fairly routine for the service despite pushback from China. In addition to the freedom of navigation operations, the U.S. Navy sent a warship through the Taiwan Strait and had 2 carrier strike groups operating together in the South China Sea in recent weeks, sparking complaints from Beijing. The Trump administration dramatically stepped up competition with China, and there are expectations that this will continue under the new Biden administration. President Joe Biden has described China as the most serious competitor, and said the U.S. is in extreme competition with China. Biden recently announced the establishment of the China Task Force at the Department of Defense, which says the aim is countering Chinese efforts to overturn the current rules-based structure and use all elements of national power to bend the nations to its will. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has called China the pacing threat for the U.S., and a planned force posture review is expected to focus heavily on the U.S. position in the Indo-Pacific region. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby recently stressed how seriously the secretary takes the pacing challenge that China poses, telling reporters that it's important to take a fresh look as we come in at what is in the Pacific. What is the footprint, both fixed and rotational, and what's the health of our alliances and partnerships there? In other words, from our perspective, are we doing enough? In a so-called freedom of navigation operation, the guided missile destroyer USS Russell steamed within 12 nautical miles of the Spratly Islands in the southern portion of the 1.3 million square mile waterway, almost all of which China claims as its sovereign territory. This freedom of navigation operation (FONOP) upheld the rights, freedoms and lawful uses of the sea recognized in international law by challenging unlawful restrictions on innocent passage imposed by China, Vietnam and Taiwan. Lieutenant Joe Kiley, a spokesman for the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, said in a statement, Vietnam, Taiwan and the Philippines also have claims in the Spratly chain, where China has transformed obscure reefs and sandbars into man-made artificial islands, fortified with missiles, runways and weapons systems. The Russell's FONOP followed a similar operation conducted by the USS John S. McCain in the Paracel Islands in the northwestern area of the sea 12 days previous. It also comes less than a week after two U.S. aircraft carriers, the USS Theodore Roosevelt and USS Nimitz, conducted rare dual-carrier drills in the South China Sea. Unlawful and sweeping maritime claims in the South China Sea pose a serious threat to the freedom of the sea, including freedoms of navigation and overflight, free trade and unimpeded commerce, and freedom of economic opportunity for South China Sea littoral nations, Kiley said in the statement. The U.S. Navy operations come after U.S. President Joe Biden described China as the U.S. most serious competitor and outlined plans to confront Beijing's attack on human rights, intellectual property, and global governance. Biden also said Washington was in extreme competition with China. Since assuming office on January 20, the Biden administration has reaffirmed its commitment to U.S. allies and partners in the region, specifically letting the Philippines and Japan know that their islands also claimed by China are covered by mutual defense treaties that obligates Washington to defend them. China claims the U.S. naval operations in the South China Sea inflame tensions and violate its sovereignty. After the FONOP and the Paracels, a report on the People's Liberation Army's official English website said PLA naval and air forces tracked the U.S. destroyer and warned it off. The warship trespassed in Chinese territory, seriously violated China's sovereignty and security, gravely undermined regional peace and stability, and deliberately disrupted the good atmosphere of peace, friendship and cooperation in the South China Sea, the report said.